Hey guys, so I have been on Tirzepatide for about 8 months now, so I thought today would be a good idea to make a video that's all about the side effects I've experienced. Now, of course, I'm someone where it's like, if I think, oh, my knee hurts, that must be a side effect. A lot of times I'll go online, I'll look up what all the side effects are of Tirzepatide. There won't be anything in there about knee pain. I'll watch YouTube videos and see what other people are experiencing, and no one else is talking about knee pain. So then I think, okay, well, maybe it's just my imagination. Like, is this really a side effect, or is it just me thinking it's a side effect? So that's why I thought I would make this video today to say, is this actually a side effect of a GLP-1, or is it just my imagination? Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you any sort of medical advice, but I definitely have to go over a few things that if you are experiencing any of these side effects, such as not being able to breathe, this is something that's very important that you immediately get medical care. Same if you have chest pain, your arm feels numb, that could be a sign of a heart attack. Anytime there's any uncontrollable bleeding, of course, people are going to tell you to immediately seek medical assistance right away. So I'm certainly not going to be talking about any of those kind of side effects, but those are things that doesn't matter what medication you're on. If you start having any of those issues, bleeding, not being able to breathe, chest pains, just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, like I said, I have been on it, Tirzepatide, GLP-1, GIP, for 8 months now. I've lost about 65 pounds. So that's pretty good progress so far. I have to always say, my experience is not going to be the same as your experience is not going to be the same as mine. Everybody kind of reacts a little bit differently to the medication. But I am notorious for saying that I have had absolutely no side effects. I've said that from the very beginning. Now, of course, I've lost weight, so of course losing weight is a side effect. So just because I said I had no side effects, well, I can go over some side effects that I felt that, happened to me, but doesn't necessarily mean it was because of medication. For instance, if you get a headache, is that the medication, or is that just, I would have gotten a headache anyways if I wasn't on the medication? Hard to say. But I did try to track all of these things because I thought it would be important for anyone else that's considering taking this medication. You might wonder how it might affect you. So let me start off by saying this. When I very first got my first injection, I felt nothing. Okay. Now, of course, probably everything I've seen online, other YouTubers will tell you they felt that the medication was working like the first moment, the first day they got the injection, right? Okay, for me, I felt nothing. I felt absolutely nothing. Some people will say that they felt like their appetite went away. And some people even say they felt sick the first day. So I got the injection. I felt absolutely nothing. I didn't feel sick. I still had an appetite. And to be honest, even though all those other people were saying they felt it the first day, I felt it took like a month. Like the first month, I felt nothing. Okay, and meaning my appetite was exactly the same. I wasn't losing weight. So the first month, I felt like I just was convinced, I had convinced myself that it's not even working. Okay, so it took like a good month before I even started to feel like it was working. Meaning after a month, I started to feel full when I would eat something. Before, I just had this endless appetite. I was never full. I would just keep eating and eating. But it never really made my appetite completely go away, which is what some people say it does for them. But, I would still eat. I would still think about food. I would still be hungry. But I probably just wasn't eating as much because I knew that I shouldn't be eating as much as I had been. So I tried to choose healthier food options and that sort of thing. And so that's why after a good, I think 5 weeks, I had lost 9 pounds. And so I thought, okay, well, something must be working, whether it's the medication or whether it's because I actually took the effort to change my diet. So I feel like I was very slow to start in the sense that, wasn't really getting those side effects, wasn't really getting side effects, good or bad. I wasn't getting sick, but I also wasn't like, I don't know. I guess in my mind, I thought, I had it in my mind how I thought the medication was gonna work, but then it was just like, it just seemed like a regular day. It felt like nothing had changed for me. Now, when I said that I kind of started to track different things, meaning I noticed sometimes I would get a headache. Now, I've mentioned this before that sometimes, like, if I haven't eaten something in a while, I'll just get a headache because I don't know, this maybe just how it is for me. So if I was eating a little bit less, I didn't know if my headache was because I hadn't eaten in a couple hours or if it was because the medication was causing a headache. This is why it's really hard to determine what's actually causing something. But this is what I started to notice, is that I would only get the headache on the day that I got the injection, and then it went away. Like the whole rest of the week I wouldn't have a headache. After a couple of weeks of that, I wouldn't even get a headache anymore. So I've had no issues with getting a headache. But I did notice that was kind of how it was for me in the beginning, getting a headache only on the day of injection. I've not had any stomach upset. I've not gotten sick. I have not thrown up. All these side effects you might hear other people had, I wasn't having any of that. Didn't feel dizzy, didn't feel nauseous, didn't have uncontrollable diarrhea, which thank goodness, I haven't had anything like that. But now that we're like 8 months into the medication, let me just talk about this. Before I started the medication, I'll put here on the screen what my A1C was. So I was technically in the pre-diabetes range. And I recently had my A1C tested again, and I am no longer in the pre-diabetes. I'm no longer diabetes, pre-diabetes, anything. I will, like I said, give you what my results are. I'll put it here on the screen. One thing I wanted to mention, so of course you can always get your A1C tested by your doctor, and sometimes there are like some at-home tests that you can do. I just wanted to mention that I actually got my A1C tested at a local Walmart. So I didn't know this, but apparently the Walmarts in my area, they will do flu tests, they'll test for strep throat, you can get your cholesterol checked, you can get your blood pressure checked for free at Walmart. But I believe it was $29 for me to get my A1C tested, and that is how I happen to know what my A1C is right now. I got it only a couple of days ago, so I'm very happy with the results. Now, of course, people are going to say, well, I guess that's probably the Tirzepatide that helped you lower your A1C. But also, I've lost a lot of weight, so losing weight can help you lower your A1C. So when I try to say, what are the side effects? Okay, of course, obviously, losing weight is a side effect, and it having an impact on your blood glucose, your A1C. If you have diabetes, it can lower your A1C. And so that's all something that I felt is worth mentioning here in this video. Okay, so when I used to go on hikes, basically, I would just always get out of breath. I'd be really tired. It'd be really difficult for me. And so, of course, I'm happy to say now that I've lost some weight, there's times where I'll go for a walk or go for a hike and I'll be like, wow, this seems like really easy. Like it's the same hike I've done before. But when I did it before, it just seemed like really difficult. And now, like, there's more like a skip in my step. Like, I feel like now that weight is off of me and I'm able to be more physical and be more active and get out and do hikes and things like that a lot more easily now. Now, I personally do not drink alcohol, but I did want to throw this in here because I know sometimes people say that because the GLP-1 kind of slows your digestion, that this is why people who do drink, maybe sometimes the alcohol affects them a little bit more, a little bit stronger, because it's not moving through your system as fast. Yeah. So I don't drink alcohol. I really can't speak on that. I can't tell you how it has affected me because I don't drink. But keep that in mind if you're someone who does like to drink every now and then. Be careful when you drink. Don't overdo it, because maybe if you normally had like 2 glasses of wine, maybe like 1 glass or half a glass of wine might affect you in the way that 2 glasses used to affect you. Also wanted to talk about how this whole weight loss process for me has taken time during the winter where we've had very cold weather and it snowed and all that stuff. So I would say that I definitely would start to feel cold a lot. like body temperature, I'd feel the need to have to like put on a heavy jacket, when before, I don't know, maybe because I had some extra layers of warmth on me, layers of fat were keeping me warm or keeping me, I don't know, sometimes hot and sweaty. Definitely have to say that losing weight, I now kind of sometimes feel cold more often than I used to. Okay, so have I had more energy? No, I actually get tired more often. I don't have any extra energy at all. I've heard lots of people say that once they've taken a GLP-1, they have so much more energy. That's not the case for me. Okay, so while I'm out here on this hike, let's talk about several embarrassing things that I don't mind talking about because we can put those days behind us, I hope. I work in an office, and I do have to say that in the office, I have a fairly expensive, fancy office chair that the company purchases, right? It's probably, I don't know how much those chairs cost, maybe like several $100s, maybe $800, who knows. I have been known to break chairs at my office because I guess I weighed too much for the chair and the chair broke, and then the company had to buy me a new chair, which is embarrassing. Also, I have a bicycle. Now, my bicycle is currently in storage, and once upon a time I used to love riding my bicycle all the time. Apparently bicycles, most of them have a weight limit. So maybe before you buy a bicycle, you might want to check out what the weight limit is. I broke the seat right off my bicycle while I was riding it, and that seat was completely broken. I had to get a replacement seat, and actually I haven't ridden my bicycle since then because it was kind of embarrassing when that happened. It happened, of course, while I'm out, riding my bike in public. An older gentleman stopped and asked if I was okay, because the seat had broke off, so it's like I kind of like fell off the bike. So like I said, now that I've lost some weight, hopefully it'll be safe for me to ride a bicycle again. I'm sure they make heavy duty bicycles for larger people, but those do cost more, and I just had like a regular bicycle, not some special heavy duty one for heavy people. Now, another thing that is behind us are the holidays. So we're now I'm filming this in April of 2026, but I do have to say, back when it was the holidays, the Christmas holidays, definitely was a time where there were lots of treats being brought into the office place, cookies, that sort of thing. And what I did notice was, aside from my lack of desire to eat those things, because like I said, I really have tried to change my diet and try to eat healthier things. Of course, there's always like sweet cookies calling your name. Well, a lot of them, like, I just didn't feel like eating them. And then when I did try to eat them, I just felt like it wasn't as appetizing as I thought it would be. I felt like it didn't really like satisfy me in the way that a holiday cookie would have in the past. Another side effect I've heard mentioned is hair loss, and as you see, I have tons of hair. But this is probably the first time that I've noticed that when I use my hairbrush, there will be like a lot more clumps of hair in the brush when I'm done brushing my hair, and I've never had that issue before. So I have noticed lots of other people say that they have experienced hair loss since starting a GLP-1. So, if I'm just going off of, the hair that's left over in my brush after I brush my hair, then yes, you could say that I have experienced some hair loss. And like I said, I have a ton of hair. One thing you might not know is actually the whole back of my head is shaved. Maybe I can insert a photo here. So actually, I only have like half the hair on my head right now than a normal person would have, because my hair, it's so thick that it gets really like uncontrollable to take care of sometimes. And so that's why I chose to just kind of like shave the back of my head so that it would be easier for me to maintain my hair. Sometimes there's days where I just want to cut it all off, but I would have to say yes, I brushed my hair, and sometimes I think I've heard that this has more to do with like nutrient deficiencies. Now, of course, you can lose hair when you've lost a large amount of weight, but also if you're not eating healthy enough and getting enough vitamins, and that could also be a reason why a person is losing their hair. So that's something that I will add here as a side effect. Okay, so I want to talk about one last interesting side effect that I experienced, and this is kind of like in the very beginning, very first started, and I had gotten some kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, some really painful jaw pain, like all around here, was in kind of like extreme pain, and I didn't know why. And then when I tried to like Google it, WebMD, all that, it had said that that could be a sign of an allergic reaction to Tirzepatide or the GLP-1. And so I was very concerned, and I of course reported that jaw pain to my doctor, because I thought, well, maybe I need to stop taking this medication. And it was weird because I only had that pain for like a couple days, and then it just like went away and it never came back, and I continued doing the injections, and I've not had any issues since then. So when that happened, like I said, I was a little scared because it's like, oh no, like I'm having an allergic reaction to this medication. But like I said, I followed up with my doctor, because I was just really concerned. I don't know why my jaw hurt really bad like that. And then it went away. It wasn't like a dental issue or anything like that. So it's one of those like unexplained things that I don't know. But I thought I would add it to this video. And thank you for watching today.